question for you guys. If you're dating someone or talking to them, is that the same thing as being in a relationship? And after what?
No.
Say no. And so
No.
at what point of talking, how long do you have to be talking to now be in a relationship?
Just because he buys you mozzarella sticks doesn't make him your boyfriend.
What'd you say? Last question for you ladies. Would you propose to your boyfriend? Why or why not? What do you guys think about women who ask dudes for things they can't afford themselves?
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous because in my mind is I'm not gonna ask for something I can't get myself. And I don't know, maybe that's just, I know some people be like, oh, you can ask the dude for this, you can ask the dude for that, and he'll get it for you. But in my mind, if I can't afford it myself, I shouldn't be asking for it. If I want him to have what I have and we move forward as a relationship, I should be able to get the stuff that I want. Of course, it's better if he does buy it and I don't have to pay for it. But if I should be able to get it myself as well, that's just how I feel.
I honestly feel like if your person or relationship you're in, they buy it for you, there's no standard for that, but when it comes to something I'm asking for, honestly, if I see something I like, I shouldn't have to ask for it. You should know, oh, she likes this, let me get it. So honestly, I don't know about that answer. Like for me, if I ask for it, I think I can pretty much buy what I want to buy. But if I ask for it, you should be able to get it. I mean, whether I can afford it or not. But I'm not going to go ask for no Bentley, because I know I can't buy a Bentley. I'm going to ask you for a Bentley. No, it's not like that. But typically, if I think I like it, you should be able to get it for me.
What do you think, Erika?
I think, as part of a relationship, sometimes you make big demands. I think I asked my husband for something, and it's something I could have bought for myself, but never have, just over the course of these years. And he's just not a good gift giver. So I was like, this is the one thing you have to buy for our anniversary. And it worked out good for us because he's not good at determining what he needs to buy. He's not good at all that shopping and figuring it out. It worked out for us. I mean, it wasn't like you said, it wasn't a Bentley, but I don't know, I see those women who are able to ask for like money and jewelry, and it's a different kind of relationship. It's not a fulfilling relationship that's meant to last. It's just not. It's not a relationship based on mutual respect. To me, that's what I see.
I kind of feel like I won't ask for something I can't afford, but I also don't ask for a lot of things because I don't think to ask. If I want something, I go buy it myself. But I hear that a lot, that dudes say that women ask for things that they can't even afford themselves. So I was just curious how you guys felt about it. Me, I'm not going to ask for something. If I've looked at something like Jarrita says, and he knows that's something that I like, I feel like he should go get it. But if he doesn't, I'm not going to say, hey, can you get this for me? I guess that to me also ties into the thing I was telling you guys earlier about pursuing people. Like, I'm not going to ask for stuff. Like, I expect you to offer. And if you're not going to do it, then I'm just never going to ask for it. If I see something and I say something about it and it slips my mind, I expect Marcos to have it in the back of his mind and go get it at some point. So that's how I feel about that. So we got 2 questions left. Would you guys, or have you ever dated outside your race?
Yes, I have.
Yes, a lot.
Yes.
Ever? No.
So if a Black dude was like not pursuing you, or you lived outside of Atlanta where there's not as many Black people, do you feel like you would date outside your race? Like, do you have anything against that, or like, is that
No,
something?
I don't have anything against it. It was just never, I've never been approached by anyone other than a Black person. So a Black guy, but no, I don't have anything against it. Not at all.
Okay. Do you guys think there's a such thing as having a preference of dating outside your race?
For sure. I think I have family members who just consistently date outside of their race, and I just, you can't judge them for it. And I feel like I've I've dated primarily outside of my race because that seems to be what I attract. I had got married to a black man, but I just felt like in my dating life, I was dating a lot of white and Latino men.
But Erika, I'm saying, do you have is there such thing as having a preference to date something other than a black person? So you basically saying, well, yeah, I just prefer to only date white men. Like, I just prefer that. Like, do you think that's a thing, having a preference of dating something other than the race that you represent?
I think it's definitely a thing. It's not my thing is my preference. I mean, if I have to set a preference, it was always black men, but it just wasn't, the opportunity just wasn't there. And luckily enough, ended up with one. But yeah, I think that that's definitely a thing. That's for sure a thing.
What do you think, Jarrita?
I agree with Erika. I think some people do have their preference. I mean, it doesn't matter. I think a preference goes with everything. But when it comes to dating outside your relationship or outside of your outside of your race, I think some people do have that. Like some people won't date black women. Like some men would not date black women, and that's their preference. I mean, kudos to them. But I know for me, I just haven't dated one because I wasn't approached by one. Like I said, I'm not pursuing anybody. So some people do have their preference. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's their preference. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I think everyone has a preference. You know, it doesn't matter if they're black or whatever culture you go towards, you're always going to be looking for a certain preference. Like, you know how a man's supposed to look in your mind or your ideal image, but I definitely believe there's preferences going both ways.
I disagree with all of you guys. I do not believe that there is a such thing as having a preference to date somebody who is outside of your race. To me, that just sounds like some straight up bullshit. It's cliche. You hear everybody saying it. I mostly hear black men saying it, that they prefer to not date black women when they're saying it. I just have a preference. I prefer Latina women or I prefer white women.
Wait, Tierra,
How do you,
was the question is, do we believe there's a preference in dating, or do I believe I have a preference when dating? I'm confused.
General,
so
like, do you think that having a preference to date outside of one's race is a thing? Like,
okay. Let's not say it.
believe that's real. I feel like it's a front for people who have self-hatred issues or are trying to fit in with the mold that they're putting in society. And so they say they prefer to date X, Y, and Z, which always is something that doesn't look anything like them. I don't believe that is actually a preference. I don't think the word preference fits when you're talking about dating outside of what your fucking ethnic background is. How do you prefer something other than yourself? To me, that sounds weird. To me, there sounds like there's something wrong there. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't date black men, or I just, it's just a preference. I don't date them. I don't like men. It's like
I don't know. To me, I think people do have preference, but that's another thing of saying that they prefer. If they're saying I prefer a white man over a black man, of course, no. Of course, a black woman would not prefer a white man over a black man. But that's the complex of the mind of what we've been conditioned to believe. Like they said earlier, I prefer to date someone in a different culture versus a black person because X, Y, and Z. But of course, the preference is wrong. But they have them, and black men are the main ones that do it. They're the main people that have preferences.
So is that a preference then, or is that conditioning?
Conditioning in my mind.
I feel like conditioning.
The reason why I feel like it's fake is because I don't hear men from other other race groups saying, I prefer to date, I don't like white women. I don't hear white men saying they don't like white women. I don't hear Latino men saying, I don't like Latino women. Or, yeah, Latino women are not cute to me. Like, I don't know. How are they unattractive to you? That means you're ugly. Like, if black women are ugly to black men, that means he's ugly. Like, that's what that means to me. To me, that doesn't make sense. There's no way I could say that a black man is unattractive. All black dudes they're just not attractive to me. What does that say about me?
Yeah, exactly. Or your dad, or your uncles, or your brothers.
Right. What do I sound like in front of my dad and my little brother saying black dudes are just not attractive? Like, that's not to me, it's not a preference. It's something else.
Yeah, I don't believe it's conditioning in my mind.
Right.
I was saying, I do believe it's the conditioning. I know a lot of men, well, Black men that I've talked to, it's something that they dealt with as children with their parents, well, with their mom. And they don't trust women because of something their mom did or what they went through in another relationship. So everything they went through with the Black woman has always been negative to them. So now they're going to go outside their race. Not necessarily meaning another race would be better for them because they could go through the same exact thing. I mean, because women, we're women, you know, so it doesn't matter with that. I think it's just conditions say, oh, well, white women allow you to do this. They're not naggers. They don't do this. They don't do that. But at the end of the day, it's the type of person you are attracting because all Black women are not nagging women either. So the women you are attracting, you done gave up on a whole group of women because of the couple or the select few you have dealt with. So it's something that you are doing that you need to change so you can attract a different woman. Or you need to choose a different woman. You're choosing all the same women, and now you're upset with Black women as a whole because of these few women that you chose. You need to change your choices.
I kind of disagree, only because we're assuming that because someone picks someone of a different race, and I've heard a lot of I have white friends, and I've known a lot of white guys who prefer to date, you know, specific races, and they've voiced that, and also I know a lot of Black guys who like to date, you know, outside of their race. And I don't think it's always self-hating. I think I got approached once by an older Black guy, like a Black guy who was like in his 50s. This guy was Denzel hot. This is not a guy I would ever expect to like approach me, but this is, you know, older Denzel Washington age man flirting with me. And I couldn't sexualize him because in my mind, I'm thinking uncle, principal. My principal was a Black guy. You know, I couldn't sexualize an older Black man in my mind and in my heart and I didn't have like a physical reaction to him, only because I couldn't sexualize him. So it wasn't like a disdain for him. It wasn't anything he did wrong. It's just, I immediately thought of like the male authority figures in my life, and I couldn't put him in the category of someone that I'd want to kiss every night, you know, and you know, get naked for. So it's not always a place of disdain. It's just maybe sometimes you just can't sexualize someone who looks like your mother, your aunt, your cousin. So I just don't always think that preferences are a bad thing.
Okay. One thing I will say to that is I get what you're saying about this specific guy, but that specific guy is not every single Black man. You're married to a Black man. So not being able to sexualize this dude just because he's clearly attractive and you being like, oh, I could like him or I couldn't like him is not the same thing as saying I only date XYZ people. It's just a preference and I don't like this group of people. I don't understand how you can be Black and prefer to date something else and then also say that your people are not attractive. Your people are not this, your people are not that. So I guess it's not necessarily dating outside of your race, but saying that you only date this type of person. However, the people that I come from, I don't fuck with those people, or those people are not attractive, or something negative about that group. I don't hear white men saying, I only date Black women and white women are not attractive. Like, I don't hear those type of things. I hear white men who say I like Asian women and they date Asian women, but they're not at the same time saying they don't like white women. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just don't think that I feel like I've heard those voices. I feel like I've heard people kind of expressing that it's not a self-hatred thing. It's just a preference. It's maybe what you were exposed to or what you can't get into bed with someone you can't visualize getting into bed with, you know? So I just don't always think people don't wake up and say, I hate Black women and I'm never going to sleep with one. I think sometimes it's just what your heart speaks to. And what you can visualize yourself getting into bed with. I think it was like some other podcast I was listening to, but they're talking about a lot of Black people don't watch Black porn because they can't visualize themselves getting into bed with someone who looks like their sister, their mother, their So it's not always like yeah, I just don't always think it's a malicious or an intentional thing.
Saying anything, but I agree everything what you're saying. I feel like there are preferences, but I feel like where I understand what Tierra is saying is there are where I have heard Black men say, I don't like Black women. And I guess the thing is, how can you not like something that's you? And in my mind is like, I've heard it. I've heard Black men. Like I have a brother that literally does not date Black women. He literally only dates white women. And my question is, I always be like, but why? You know what I mean? To me, it's like, what makes that more susceptible to you versus someone that could relate to you, could understand where you come from, can understand the things that you have dealt with in your life. They can understand what's going on with you as a Black man. That's just my knowledge of it, but that's what he likes. And I agree. Maybe that's what his heart speaks to, but I don't understand it. I just don't get it.
Okay. So last question for you ladies. Would you propose to your boyfriend? Why or why not?
No. Hell nah. No, I wouldn't. That just reminded me, like, I was just speaking to my dad literally like a week ago, and he's like, yeah, so when are you about to get married? I got my tuxedo ready and stuff. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not the man. I don't propose. I feel like that goes back to making the first move. I feel like in my mind, the man should act, the man chooses what the woman, they kind of like guide, in my mind, men guideline the relationship. Yes, we are a rib. We all have we have our roles, but in my mind, a man should ask me. It's more romantic. I feel very manly to go up and be like, I want to bring the ring out and I want to marry you. It just makes me feel more manly. So that's why mine is a no. I don't feel like I want to be the one approaching it, starting it. I want him to do it. I want him to make the ideas and everything.
Tierra, hell no. I agree with you, Shantel. There is no way I am going to propose to a man. First of all, like I said, I want to be the one that's being pursued. But why would I propose? That's the man part. Why would I propose to you? Now, to be honest, when it comes to being married, I do think men have they don't have that whole aspect of, I want my wedding day to look like this, but they do know if they're going to marry a woman. You know, they know who they're going to marry when they meet them. My husband, to be honest with you, he did a whole lot when it came to, he picked out my ring, everything. So when it came to doing the proposing, he was prepared for it. I'm not going to propose to nobody. I don't care how bad I want to get married. No, and I don't think a woman should. I don't think a woman should do that. Not at all.
What do you think, Erika?
I think my husband proposed to me, but it wasn't like we climbed a mountaintop and it wasn't like doves were flown off. It wasn't like this highly Disney moment, but it was a special moment. But it was also like a practical moment. I don't know. I feel kind of neutral towards that. I just don't have a strong opinion either way.
Okay. And so I feel like some people might watch this and say, oh, well, women, they can do anything. And what's wrong with them professing their love to their significant other and whatever else. Yeah, like a feminist type of thing.
Yes.
And for me, the answer is no. Like, as you guys already know, I'm not pursuing nobody. I'm also not about to propose nobody. And I just feel like, what do I look like getting down on a knee to a man asking him to marry me? Like, to me, that's crazy. What, from you guys' point of view, why would you think someone would want to propose to their husband? And like, yeah, why do you guys think someone would want to? Why would a woman want to do that? Erika, do you have anything to say on that, because you're kind of in the middle? Like,
I just think love is love, and I have strong opinions about the first date. I think the first date, it's about just being polite. It's good etiquette for the man to pay for the date. After that, I think we have to write our own script, and my husband and I certainly wrote our own script, and we didn't do things in the traditional way, and I wouldn't do it any differently. Like if someone told me we could throw you a $1 million wedding with 500 guests and the big long train, I wouldn't take it. I would take the way we did it. And so I think everyone's got to write their own story. And if you keep telling yourself that your story has to look like the story and it has to impress your friends or impress your family members, you're going to hurt yourself. Like you're going to break your own heart. And sometimes your story just means you asking, hey, would you marry me?
Jarrita or Shantel, what do you think?
I feel a woman would probably do that because she don't feel that he stepped up fast enough and she want to get the ball rolling. I think that's probably one of the reasons why. There could be multitude of reasons why. However, I don't disagree with you, Erika. I feel like you shouldn't impress anybody. You shouldn't be there to impress anybody. This is for you and your spouse. Y'all have to live that life. Y'all have to run that marathon together. Nobody else. So I definitely agree with that part about not impressing anyone. I just don't feel it was for me. Now, if somebody chooses to do it, kudos to you. I just don't feel that that is my story. I don't feel like I should propose to a man. And because I've been in a relationship where I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. Now, if I propose to that person, that ain't who God want me to be with. And, clearly we're not together. So at the end of the day, the person that's for me is the person I'm with now. He proposed to me, and I don't think he could have went no other way because I definitely wasn't going to propose.
I agree with both. I'm like on the fence with both ways. Like to me, like I said, like Jarrita said, I it's not my story. I don't believe that I should be the one that says, hey, let's get married. I'm on one knee. I just don't think that's just not me, not my personality. There's nothing wrong with it. But like I said, like the first date, it just sets up the marriage. Like if I'm the one going on one knee and asking to be married, I feel like I'm the one that's going to carry the relationship. I'm the one that's going to, it's just in my mindset. I'm the one doing the man duties. I'm going to be the one doing the man duties for the entire marriage. So if it works for somebody, it works for them. It just doesn't work for me. And I just feel like a man should lead and take control, and leading and take control is getting down on one knee and saying, I want to marry you versus me.
To wrap this question up, if someone, and Erika, I'm kind of mainly asking you since you think that you're on the fence or it doesn't really matter either way it goes as far as proposal goes, do you really think that a man is ready or wants to marry a woman if he doesn't ask her? Like if the woman has to go to the point of asking this dude to marry her, do you think he actually wants to marry you? Like, from my point of view, I say no. That's why I'm not proposing to nobody, because if you didn't ask me, that means you don't want to do it. I'm not about to I'm not about to put you in an awkward position where you kind of feel obligated to say, yes, let's get married now, but you never initiated that process. So do you think that if the dude doesn't propose, he actually wants to be with the woman?
And I'm assuming your situation is like someone who's, been in a steady relationship. They've been together. They've talked about getting married. She's expressed that she wants to get married, and he just hasn't pulled the trigger and put the ring in front of her. I think that is a sign that he's maybe, if he hasn't asked and you've discussed, taking that next step in your relationship, there's definitely something that needs to be discussed and worked out. There's a reason for it, and I think you might need help.
Well, then your answer to that makes me feel like I am right in what I'm saying. No, I will never propose to anybody, because if he didn't ask, he doesn't want to get married. I'm sorry. Like it might be different for same-sex couples, because then at that point it's like doesn't really matter. But if a dude doesn't ask, to me that says he doesn't want to be married.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Well, ladies, any closing comments before we wrap it?
This was a great conversation. Thank you, Tierra. We know dating in America is or dating as a Black woman is kind of crazy. So now we viewed every point of view from multiple women tonight or today. So now it's the truth. We all know that the landscape is pretty shady out there right now.
I just want to say thank you. This was a great conversation. Good platform.
I agree 1,000%. Great job, Tierra.
Well, thank you guys for being here, and I'll be in touch. More videos to come. Thank you guys.